Hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Living in the Magic. I am so excited to welcome a dear friend of mine as a guest on today's pod. If you follow me or if you know me, you've probably heard me say her name. She is a herbalist. She is also a flower essence practitioner. She is a facilitator, a space holder, and also a dear friend of mine. So, without further ado, I'd love to welcome Miss Bridget Francis to today's episode. Yay!
Yay! Thank you so much. So excited just to dive in and just let this conversation flow. It's going to be
Yes.
fun. It's going to be exciting as it always is.
Always. And we're just excited to share one about the retreat we just hosted. We want to give you kind of a little recap and some behind the scenes action of what we were kind of moving
Yeah.
through during that time. And even how it came to be, because it's like, what are these two girlies doing in mono on a farm on a random Saturday? So,
So many things.
so many things. But I think we should start with first taking our flower essence blend because we were
Yes.
even talking before this. We're like, even though it's just us chatting on Zoom, there is still a little bit of nerves because we know this is being recorded and is going to be shared. So it's time to remember who the fuck we are.
Exactly. I love that. We've got our blends and the affirmation. I grabbed my card in case we both forgot. Just to have in your ethers is I remember who I am and I stand tall in that knowing.
Hell yes.
Let's take her.
So good. Cheers.
Cheers.
Okay, now we're ready.
Now we remember who we are.
Hell yes. Okay, so we have so much to talk about, but I think what would make the most sense is to start off just kind of how we connected and how that eventually led to us hosting our first one day retreat together. So, what's interesting is Bridget and I met actually through Instagram.
Shout out
Yeah,
Instagram.
shout out the gram. We had both been facilitating different events at a local meditation studio, and I am so grateful. She randomly just DM'd me and said, "Hey, you want to grab coffee?" And I immediately was like,
Yeah.
"Yes, let's do it." And we had coffee, and it was just like, when you just click with someone, and especially for any spiritual girlies here who crave a friend to like talk about all the random stuff they're doing deep dives into, like astrology and
Yeah.
numerology, different books they're reading. And I feel like we just sat in that coffee shop and just didn't shut up.
Basically, yes.
It's
Highly
just,
recommend
yeah.
if you're looking for friends to look on Instagram and find someone in your area and just risk it all and DM them because that's
Yeah.
how I find my friends these days.
Yeah. Like, honestly, if you hadn't done that, just think of, I don't even want to think about it, but like how much it's led to. It's wild.
Yeah.
Because one of our earlier meetings, I was doing the artist way, which if you haven't heard of the artist way, I feel like that's been coming up a lot for me and I've been recommending it to people. So shout out artist way. But it is a workbook. And something that came through while I was doing the artist way was how when I was a kid, I loved setting the table. That was just my, like, I would get flowers from the backyard. I would like put a million forks out. I would try to like learn all the placements. I just loved it. And I realized hosting is something that I really wanted to do more of. And so I invited Bridget to meet for coffee because I thought of her and I thought, hey, I know she makes tea. I know she does these tea ceremonies. Wouldn't that be cool to be part of like a dinner? Let me just shoot my shot and see if she'd be down. And when I met with her, I didn't even get to like finish even telling her about it. Because she already knew I was going to ask her, which is wild. And she like immediately was like, yes, I'm in. So would love to know from your perspective what that was like before we dive into what our first dinner was like.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, backtrack to the millions of forks. Because now I'm just picturing a table with millions of forks. Like, what are we going to do with those? But also, life is crazy. And I feel like ever since I really started to connect with myself, like who I truly am, and everything in the world, in the universe that surrounds me, I just began to notice how clear my intuitive nudges were. And so this is a perfect example of Kalina messaged me, and it was basically, like a cryptic, like, I want to talk to you about something, about like doing something together. Do you want to meet up for coffee? And so I'm like, yeah, immediately, yes. And I just knew, like, and we had never referenced this before, but I just immediately knew, like, she's hosting a dinner and she's going to ask me to do it with her. And so I already driving there was like resounding yes. And again, it's just one of those things you're like, I just know this is coming and the door has opened and I'm just waiting for the invitation. And so, yeah, we sat there and kind of dreamed up this vision of like women gathering around the table with nourishing food, nourishing conversations where it's not too stiff and like meditative, but also just
Mhm.
like flowing with laughter and jokes, but like deep, meaningful conversations that we crave. And so, really, that was the moment, yeah, Soulful Dinners was kind of birthed into the ethers and the Pinterest boards.
The
And
Pinterest boards.
and then a couple months later, we gave it a go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is so cool that you already had that inkling. And it was so nice to, because before this, I was doing everything on my own. And I feel like I thought I had to do everything on my own, which is so silly now being on the other side of it. Um, but just like that conversation in that coffee shop, how easy it flowed and all these ideas and like bringing this vision of this, you know, beautiful dinner that's also a supportive space and a space of connection was just so fun and so amazing. And yes, it led to our first dinner, which something, if anybody's in this like entrepreneurial realm, there's so much learning that happens always,
Too
all the
much.
time. And we actually hosted a dinner in a meditation studio, which was perfect. Like, so grateful for that space. However, when you think of a meditation studio, you don't really think of, it's a place to host dinner. So there was a lot of things we had to source and figure out, including like navigating the millions of stairs to bring up all the stuff that we needed to source and figure out. But we did it, and we cooked all the food, which to me is wild. I don't know how
Yes.
that
I
even
don't know how we did
happened.
it. Also, we cooked all the food in a setting where me and my husband were dog sitting. My my sister's 6 month old, like almost 200-pound Great Dane. So we've got like a puppy Great Dane trying to like dominate us in the kitchen while we're like rolling these zucchini bites. Oh, it was crazy. It was like a lot of hours,
Yeah,
but it was
it was so worth it. But I wish we would have taken a picture of the kitchen at the end of the night because, again, it's a meditation studio, so it's like not meant for you to host a dinner in. And it's this tiny kitchen. And we had no plan on what to do with like each course. Of course, again, girl with a million forks on the table, each course required so many dishes.
fun.
We had so many courses. So at the end of the night in this tiny kitchen, we had all these dishes stacked and we like kept sliding the door closed so nobody could see what was going on in there.
It was so crazy.
It really
Oh
was.
my gosh, yeah. I
But
feel
we
like we
did
were
it.
on such an adrenaline rush. We
Hmm.
somehow did it. We were there for like 3 hours after cleaning and just, oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah, it's wild to think back and just so much learning.
Yeah.
And that eventually led us to try again. We did try to do it at a restaurant because we're like, okay, if we could just have someone take care of the food, that would be so much more easeful. And unfortunately, it just didn't make financial sense. It really made it expensive and it wasn't easeful. It was kind of like it just wasn't working. But
Mhm.
again, it wasn't like a no, don't continue with this. It was like, okay, take a minute. Let's rethink this. Let's figure it out. Which was perfect because it led us to hosting a 1 day retreat, which is also kind of a wild story because around the time of our first soulful dinner, I randomly went to this sound bath in a yurt in like this place that was over an hour away from me where I knew no one. And the girl doing the sound bath, I was following, and she lives on a farm where they like host some events or host like private sound baths. And I was talking to Bridget. I'm like, what are your thoughts on us just reaching out and seeing if maybe there's something we can dream up with them? And fortunately, Megan and her sister Jackie, who is a yoga instructor, were like, hell yes, let's meet up, which was so like easy and just so perfect. And we got on a Zoom call with them. We went to go visit the farm, which we like fell in love with. And that led to us co-creating the 1 day soulful summer retreat.
That's what I loved about it was like how easy it all was. Like it truly just like fell into place effortlessly. The relationship, the place, like everything was so easeful, which is always a green light.
It was so perfect. And I would love to just kind of like walk everyone through the day and just kind of share our experience too as facilitators and what kind of helped us stay grounded throughout the day. And the beauty of this 1 day retreat is that we also got to receive from each other, which was really, really cool. So
Hmm.
I think we should start off with the opening ceremony, which was led by Bridget. So Bridget, do you want to share how you like came up with the opening ceremony and how it felt for you and kind of your intention behind it?
Yeah, I was so happy to do the opening because I feel like even the regular sessions that I offer every month are in alignment with the new moon. And it's always about like setting intention and leaning into life in a new way,
Mhm.
being more open. And so I was like, oh my gosh, this is just the perfect kind of opportunity for me to simply just do what I always do, which is all about creating openness, opening the channels, helping those who were in the circle to kind of begin deep listening, listening to their intuition, their inner knowledge, the nudges and signs all around them. And so that was really my personal intention with the opening ceremony was like, okay, this is the beginning of our day together. How do we want to kind of like land here? How do we want to presence ourselves? And so it was very much like really leaning into some mindfulness practices, getting in our body, having a little reset. And I do that with using tea as a bridge. That's really what my offerings have been for the last year and a half are tea circles and letting the medicine of plants in a warm cup be the thing that grounds us back into our senses.
Mhm.
And something that was just so cool, like again, everything to me is just like this big web, this massive thread that we find ourselves on in life. And even I feel like in the wake of the retreat, I'm really feeling like, wow, like I'm actually here. Like I'm at this point in my life that I knew was coming, that I was craving for many years. And I have personally been on like about an 8 year path of healing, and kind of just like coming home to myself, really looking into my belief system, what my subconscious is kind of like determining in my life, healing deep, deep wounds. And it has all like my path has truly just like led me to each moment.
Mhm.
And for me, for those of you who maybe don't know me at all, my journey began through grief. And my husband and I in 2017, we lost our daughter, Sage, when she was a newborn. And that grief, as you can imagine, just kind of like rips you open completely and makes you just look at life completely differently. Like, what is this? What is even meaningful? Like, why am I holding on to all these things? Like, life is so fleeting. And I feel like that is like the gift of grief and death
Mhm.
really helps guide us through life so potently and excruciatingly. But for me, that thread always continues to find its way back to me. And so even coming back to like the opening ceremony, I all the girls were kind of beginning to make their way, settling in. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna just light some Palo Santos and just walk around all of the girls, all of the whole circle and just kind of like create this protection, this clear the energy, get this space ready for us to open our channels, to begin listening. And right as I lit the Palo Santos, a beautiful monarch, which we hadn't seen any that day. Like we had been there since 9 in the morning. Um, and this beautiful big monarch butterfly just came and like swooped right up behind one of the girls, kind of hit the circle, and then went off into the distance. And monarchs for me have always represented Sage, my daughter. Um, when she passed in the hospital, both mine and Ryan's dads couldn't be there because they were like long distance. Um, and a couple hours after she passed, my father-in-law, Rick, he was fishing because he just didn't know what to do with himself that day, of course. So he's like, I'm just going to go to the lake, I'm going to fish. And he ended up being surrounded by butterflies for like an hour straight. And they would not leave him. And it was just these
Mm.
beautiful monarchs. And I remember he sent us a text while we were in the hospital, and yeah, he basically was like, I feel like it was like I'm with Sage, like she came to kind of like say it's going to be okay. And
Mhm.
so ever since that moment, that has been what represents Sage's spirit in my life. And so even just like at the opening ceremony, having that moment where I was like she's guiding me, she is with me. That is my universal, eternal nudge of like just being on the right track, of following my purpose and remembering like who I am on that soul level. And so
Mhm.
that to me was a very special part of the opening ceremony, um, which just led into like this beautiful communion between the nine of us. It felt so effortless. Everyone felt like they were just ready to lean in and connect. And yeah, it was a really beautiful opening moment.
Ah, I love all of this so much. So many chills. And as somebody who got to receive the opening ceremony, um, it was perfect. You can probably even just, as you're listening to this podcast, you can imagine Bridget leading a meditation. Like, I feel like there's so much healing in your voice, and just really grounding us in. And the butterfly was just perfect, perfect cherry on top.
Yeah.
And I feel like too, when you're going to a retreat and you don't know anyone, there is that unsettling feeling at first where you're kind of like, you have this whole day ahead of you and you don't know anyone. You're like, there is that little bit of nervousness. And so I felt that opening ceremony, along with the tea, just really helped to ground us. And what was really cool, and one of my favorite parts of the retreat, was that after the opening ceremony, you actually had us stand up without, talking or interacting, and quietly walk to a spot in nature. And I'll hand it over to you to explain kind of what we did, but I found this part particularly very impactful.
Yeah. I always like, I really feel that my purpose here is to help people to move from this anxious, analytical, overthinking, obsessive storytelling state of mind back into their body, back into their energy, and back into the present moment. And I have personally found like plants have been the most impacting and supportive tool in kind of achieving that in my own life. I think oftentimes, as like practitioners, we're essentially doing work to help like an older version of us who had no help. And
Hmm.
so maybe what has taken us 8 years to get to, we are helping to fast track people and support people in their journey of essentially just clearing densities and opening up more opportunities for people to experience things like love and peace and connection and joy. Like that's really all it's about, is helping people to open and strengthen their capacity for more of like the things we desire as humans. So plants and really nature in general is like this amazing tool to help us to move from our analytical linear thinking into our intuitive sensing emotional feeling brain. And so this was actually a very fun part of the retreat for me. Basically, to give you a little rundown of what I guided the girls through, is first, while we were still in our mindful practices and tea circle moment, I led them in a very, not basic, that's not really the word, but like a standard mindfulness meditation. So it was all about focusing your attention on the sensations of the body. And it was maybe 10 to 15 minutes of just getting everyone in the circle to get into that space, to allow the thoughts to move and just to anchor back into your home base, your breath, your body, the sound of the birds, the sound of the traffic in the background. And so everyone was, in that state of being where the noise was quieting, everyone was dropping into their bodies, feeling a little bit more relaxed. And then in that state, I prompted everyone to stand up, to continue in that state, walk over to one of the gates where just some more plants were in the field and near the horses. And so we did that walk, again, continuing that meditative state of mind, just sensing, feeling every step. And then from there, I guided everyone through a plant meditation, which really is this guidance of getting you to focus in on a plant nearby. A plant, a tree, a flower can be anything in nature that's really like drawing you in. And just to make a decision to stick with it and then to begin taking it in, like, what does it look like? The colors, the textures, the movements, like really taking all of that in. And then once you're really observing the being that is the plant or tree, then you begin sensing the things you feel, the things you're thinking. And so I had everyone bring their journals, and the prompt is to basically just start writing everything down. And this is one of my personal favorite practices to help myself get out of my head. And it's funny, you already mentioned The Artist Way by Julia Cameron, because morning pages is very similar in nature. And if you've ever heard of morning pages, you'll be like, oh, okay, this sounds familiar. And it's essentially this moment where you are just writing absolutely everything that comes to mind, and it does not need to make sense. In fact, it's almost better if it doesn't make sense because you're clearing the pathway. And so it's the same with a plant meditation. We're really first tuning into our senses, and then we're just letting everything come through and not judging it. It doesn't need to make sense. It doesn't need to be right. It doesn't need to be wrong. You don't have to overthink. Is this me thinking it? Or is this a feeling? Is this a thought? Just write it all down. And then once we completed that, we came back to the circle and everyone shared what they were connecting with and what kind of came through. And this was to me the cool part. I like have chills right now. Of course. We need like a ding for like every
Yeah.
chills every time. Um, but this is the cool part because we all have very strong intuitive knowing, but we are just sometimes further away from connecting with it because of how heavily we rely on our analytical mind. And so, what plants and nature helps us to do is to really get out of thinking and measuring and judging and into simply just feeling and bringing neutrality into that feeling. It's like the tree is textured and bumpy. It's not bad that it's bumpy, it's just bumpy. It's not bad that it's like green instead of brown, like all these things that we kind of bring in with our analytical mind. We want to clear those and just let all the information come through. And you will always be so surprised when you come back to your page, just the wisdom that arises. And what was cool about the sharing moment is there were a few of us who kind of attuned to the same plants. And for example, there were three of us in the circle who had honed in and focused on one particular tree. And every single person who shared about what was coming through, whether it was like point form words, whether it was a feeling, whether it was kind of a message they felt came through, all three of those were aligned. Like it was the same energy coming through for each girl. And what does that tell you? That tells you that you are connecting to an energy field that is actually providing information to your field. And so it's not coincidence that those things were the same for those three girls. It is actually attuning to the energy of that tree. And that is the thing with connecting with plants. Sometimes if you hear about like connecting with plants and plants speaking and all of these words, we can imagine it to be very human-like. And
Mhm.
that's where we get it wrong. Like a plant isn't going to directly be like, hey, girl, you need to boss up and be more courageous. Like a plant's not going to do that. But maybe if I'm sitting with the plant, I have an intuitive nudge in my head to start a podcast and to use my voice to share my story. Well,
Mhm.
then that plant might be emanating an energy that is supportive of confidence and standing strong and using your voice for good. And so that is really even to tie in flower essences, which is a huge foundation of the work that I do, is really how practitioners and plant people began to even receive information from flowers and the different energies that they all emit. And part of that is really sitting with plants and allowing that information to just come through. And then being a part of different flower essence societies where you're giving your experience, and then over time, it compiles hundreds, thousands of experiences from different practitioners that are the same. And then it can be put into a further study, and then it can be actually claimed as a flower essence within certain flower essence societies and groups. And then that is really how we know which flowers really emanate certain energies to support us. So doing that moment with everyone that was there was just a fun little nudge for people to like continue to just allow yourself to listen more. It doesn't have to be complicated, and you don't have to get into this like crazy spiritual state to receive things. Like, if you simply listen and let things come through, even if they feel like they're your own thoughts, just write it down and you'll be surprised by the end, just like morning pages, how
Mhm.
it starts to become more cohesive in the end and you start receiving what you're meant to receive. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So much there. First, I want to say thank you for sharing your knowledge and wisdom with us, as well as for sharing your story with us, especially around grief and your openness with that. Um, I'm so happy that Sage was part of the day as well.
Mm.
And yeah, just talking about the plant meditation, I was shocked by how much actually came through in that. I was not expecting it. I was one of the girlies who chose the same tree. There was three of us, and it was interesting because the tree was directly in front of me, but I wanted to focus on these flowers in front of this door, and I was thinking, oh, like the portal's there, and it's has flowers around it, and I don't know. I have a maybe it's my Sag moon, but I like to like the optimism, the light, all that. And it was like, no, you can't ignore this tree in front of you. And just like the other two girls who tuned into this tree, it was just this like deep sadness that I felt and grief. And I was really like kind of overtaken by it. And I had actually asked the tree if it was happy. And the tree said, well, the message I received was, it's not about happiness, it's about acceptance. Like it's accepted its role, its place, and its purpose. So I felt like that was a really big message. And I also felt that it was a mirror for me of like, stop ignoring this. Like both the shadow and the light can exist at the same time, but like you need to also acknowledge the shadow. And it's like
Mhm.
right in front of you. Like just like yeah. So tuning into that I felt was really, really powerful. And it's incredible what comes through. And even I saw afterwards on Instagram where it was like spiritual awakening and all the steps. It's like quitting your job and then like wanting to go back to your job. And then it was talking to plants and
Yeah,
trees.
you
It's
made
like,
it.
yep, checks out. But there's so much wisdom and guidance available to us. And I just so appreciated not only the reminder of that, but something to facilitate that where we can bring it home and continue the conversation.
Yes. I also want to speak to what you just shared with the fact that you sent like grief and sadness to the tree and you
Hmm.
immediately, which again, I do believe so strongly that as a society, as a culture, and especially I think even as women, like we have been conditioned in the pursuit of happiness, that the most like the top tier thing to experience is to be happy. And we kind of push aside everything else and even experience shame when anything else arises within us regularly. But
Hmm.
I think that was such a perfect example of the truth coming through the message that was kind of received from that tree. And it was like it's yeah, it's not about it like being bad. Essentially, it's just it is a
Hmm.
part of life. It is a part of the spectrum of emotions we experience. And as soon as you neutralize that, as soon as you accept that, those core mindfulness practices, it just like softens it, and it's no longer a bad thing to happen or experience. It is simply an experience. And I feel like
Hmm.
that's profound when you can make that shift for yourself.
Yeah, I think also remembering that it's so purposeful too. Like I feel like we avoid it, but there's actually, yes, it just is. And it can also be purposeful. Like
Yeah.
it's just as purposeful as the happiness or the positive quotations feelings. So yeah, I felt that was just a beautiful reminder from nature. Um
Mm.
yeah, so good. So we had this amazing plant walk, and I feel like we were all just kind of in this space of just feeling really grounded and really relaxed. And that's kind of how we planned out this day retreat of having the first half be the exhale of just like release, coming back home to yourself, grounding back in. And I felt like that was the perfect segue as we start to now inhale to refill with what's next. So after that, the those who attended got to do some restorative yoga with Jackie, which it started to rain just as they got started. Um, but apparently it felt really nice. It was just like a little bit of a drizzle, then it stopped. So thank you. Um, because while this was happening, Bridget and I were setting up the space for Soulful Dinner and the sound bath and Reiki that was to come. And a lot of stuff came up in Soulful Dinner that I would love for us to chat about. Um, the first thing was a big theme that came out around dinner, especially it being around and in the energy of the Leo new moon, was this fear of, taking up space, using your voice, being a leader, being seen, and also this desire for that. Like a lot of women shared, like, I want to be seen. I want to be the center of attention. Like,
Yeah.
I want to be a leader. Um, and so I would love for us to just chat about that and even our own experiences in navigating, especially while we're on this path of taking up more space and being seen.
Yes. I feel like as well how we so for those of you who haven't been to a soulful dinner, kind of how we facilitate it. It's like this
Hmm.
easeful, beautiful, nourishing dinner, but every course has one prompted question, and we all go around and share, and it just ends up creating really effortless conversations. But I
Hmm.
feel like how we started the dinner, it was a question that had to do with like remembering something from your childhood in the summer that you just loved doing, which I feel
Hmm.
like unlocked so many memories for everyone.
Yeah.
But so many of the girls were similar in that, like, their favorite thing was like performing and taking up space. I know that was both of ours. Was like
Yeah.
being- putting on performances or like making potions in the backyard,
Hmm.
or they were just like, yeah, these fun, carefree young girls just taking up space and like being crazy and just enjoying life. And so it just immediately prompted all of us to like remember that version of us first. And we were like, huh, I was kind of like bossy and loud, and like what happened? Like life
Yes.
happens. And apparently I've just stepped into the background now and don't know
Hmm.
how to get back to the forefront. And that was such a theme, like with every girl, I feel, which is
Yeah.
always interesting to know.
Yeah, just tuning back into our essence, really like who we were before we learned that it wasn't safe to take up space or to be seen or to use our voice. Yeah, and it was really interesting to see how many of us actually loved taking up space and being seen.
Yeah.
Loved making up those dance routines and performing. So thanks for bringing us back to that because it might even be for anyone listening is to just tune back in. What was one of those things that you loved to do as a kid? Whether it was the summertime or another time of the year, like how did you love spending your time as a kid? I always feel like that's a great tether to come back to. But yeah, that led to our next question which was what part of ourselves are we being asked to lean into a little bit more during this season? And this one I feel like stumped a lot of people. Um, but I feel like it ultimately connected with this inner child, this version of them that appeared in the first question. And that's where we saw the themes of leaning into being a leader, leaning into being the center of attention,
Yeah.
leaning into being like not caring what other people think and being weird, right? So, as two people who this has been kind of an ongoing theme for both of us as we navigate taking up more space. Can you share a little bit of your journey, especially connecting to that younger self, and kind of how you have navigated taking up more space?
Yeah, it has been a journey for sure. It's always interesting because sometimes too, as you're getting older, uh, we don't always reflect on our childhood and kind of that expression of us. But I remember when I was first dating Ryan, so that would have been, shoot, 14 years ago. During one of like the first meetings with my parents, like we all had dinner together, he just wanted to know everything about what I was like as a child. Like what he was like, was she like just so sweet and quiet and cute like she is now? And my parents were like, actually, no, she was the craziest one in the house. Like she was like performing and loud and screaming and like getting everyone in trouble. And my mom was like, yeah, it wasn't until she entered the school system that one of her teachers for our first parent teacher interview basically was like, the one thing she could work on is like speaking up. And it just took my parents by surprise. Like, surely you're not talking about our daughter. And it's interesting to think back to that because I remember elementary school, like now that I have language for it, elementary school and entering into the school system really birthed my anxiety and like deep, deep fears of kind of like just being consumed in crowds and spaces with a lot of energy, a lot of people. And I would say, like, even right in kindergarten, my anxiety started amping up. Every time my mom would drop me off, I was hysterical, like crying. I was the kid that would have to like be consoled and sitting on the teacher's lap for the first
Mhm.
hour to like regulate. And it just kind of continued on. I was became really quiet, didn't want to do anything without my mom, like all the way even through elementary and high school and everything. Like I couldn't do a doctor's appointment without my mom in the room, dentist appointment, just everything made me so anxious to be alone in spaces with other people. And even I would say in grade 5, it started to amplify to where I started getting like claustrophobia in classroom settings. And again, I didn't have the language for this or I didn't understand what was happening, but I came home from school one day when I was in grade 5 and basically said to my mom, like, can you please come and tell my teacher to let me go to the bathroom anytime I want because my tummy starts hurting a lot and I'm scared she won't let me go. Like that's all I
Mm.
knew how to explain. And so my mom did. She went and she also didn't know what anxiety was because again, no one talked about it back then. And that was kind of the birthplace of my social anxiety just amping up. And I also grew up in a Christian home. I grew up, yeah, just really surrounded by Christian beliefs and mindsets, and was like the kind of family that was like completely involved in church. I then even went on to go to Bible college after high school. So I was also within a belief system that even though some like, modern bigger churches would say that they, like encourage women to speak up and all of that. And that is true. I do feel like such a foundation of Christianity and the Bible is really as women, like being quiet, being servants. So there was a lot of that just threaded, I think, into my subconscious, along with obviously the narrative of women's roles just in society in general. Um, so I found myself just getting more and more anxious, more and more quiet, more and more of a people pleaser. I found myself starting in like grade 2, I had this pattern of becoming like best friends with my opposite. And
Mm.
it began this like really unhealthy friendship pattern for me that actually lasted until I was in my 20s, that I would cling to girls who were like really, really loud, really took up space and could kind of like lead. And I would just like follow and be like, okay, you are the leader. I can be safe behind you. But those conflicting personality types would also like end up just creating really unhealthy friendship dynamics. And again, it started early for me. Like grade 4, I had to have my mom intervene with a friendship who ended up becoming almost like a friend bully to me from grade 2, 3, and 4. And then I switched to a new school. And then the same thing happened after 2 years. It was the same kind of pattern. And then I went to high school and ended up having like these beautiful friendships. And I thought I had kind of like moved past that. And then in college, again, the pattern continued, and I found myself in another relationship dynamic that just wasn't good for what I needed to grow in. Like really, and maybe
Mhm.
it actually was good for what I needed to grow in because it really like pushed up against me and forced me after many, 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 many years to finally like stand up for myself and create boundaries. And again, like still to this day, me and Kalina have related in this so much. For those of you listening, we also both have our Chiron in Leo, which, if you don't know astrology, is like the wounded healer. It's where some of your greatest wounds in life live within your chart and within your experience in life. And so with both of our Chirons in Leo, like we have big wounds in being seen and allowing our light to shine and take up space. And so we've related deeply with this. And I
Mm-hmm.
actually, it brings up just a memory with us that was so helpful for me. Again, like it's so interesting to think of like the path, and now I'm 33, and it's like I'm still like facing these things and having to overcome them. And that's the thing about even like our nervous system is it simply just takes time and repetition to create safety. And you
Mm-hmm.
do have to confront that thing. You do have to face that fear in order to build that ability for your body to completely be like, okay, this actually is safe. Like years after facing this, you know what, we're okay. And it builds that resilience that already lives in us. But
Mm-hmm.
so just, I think it was even earlier this year, I came up against a moment with someone who has a little bit more of like a naturally like big personality, takes up more space. And I basically needed to, the word confrontation is like I'm using it very lightly because to me, even little things, I'm like, it's confrontational. But it was just like I needed to be really clear on what I wanted and what I didn't want in this, in a relationship type dynamic. And I knew the moment was coming where I was going to have to, again, put up boundaries, say no to certain things, and really speak my mind in what I wanted and what I didn't accept. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember sitting with Kalina, we were sitting in Bronte at the water, and I was just so overwhelmed of like feeling like I couldn't do it. Like I was like, I'm, I have to have this conversation with her. And like I already was like feeling my jaw get tight, even as I was like sharing it with you. And I was feeling just like this anxiety bubble again that like feels so familiar. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't want to like cry and like that's just like feels so like weak and like I want to like be strong and you were literally like, no. Like what if you're shaking? What if you're crying? Then you still did it. Like do it
Mm-hmm.
shaking. Be crying. Like if your words don't even make sense, it's the act of just doing it. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel like that giving me that permission of again, like not having to have it all figured out. Like it doesn't matter that I'm in my 30s. I could be in my 60s still figuring this out. And if I'm still shaking and crying, it's okay to be seen in that. And that's the
Mm-hmm.
vulnerability piece that feels dangerous to be seen in. But yeah, that stuck with me. Like I remember writing it in my phone, like starring it, like Kalina's advice. So good.
Oh, I love that so much. And I feel like your story is so relatable, because I feel like, yeah, so many of us can have different parts of our story where we learned that it wasn't safe to be in environments with other people or seeking out those relationships that are opposites. And then it's like losing, or not losing ourselves necessarily, or sometimes yes, but also like hiding still, like using that to hide. And I love what you brought up too around the like doing it shaking, doing it crying, and just like taking the shame out of that. And like you said, that's the next step. It's all about nervous system expansion, and it's it's not like it's like we can't skip that step. It's all part of it.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I think just holding that space for the parts of ourselves who are freaking out, and rightfully so based on our past experience, is part of the key of now getting to be that safe adult for these parts of us who didn't have that, and needed that. So, thank you again for just sharing so openly and vulnerably, which is also a great exercise for expanding our ability to be
Yes.
seen. Um, because there's so much power in your story. And I feel like many of us too can relate to this being shy growing up. And I think sometimes there is, like what you said, with at home, you weren't shy. And then at school, in the school system, you were shy. And so, like, again, these different parts of ourselves and what they need to be fully free and feel safe. And that was just a big conversation piece around the table of how many of us feel that way. I know for me, how it came up was kind of my next step was around being seen as an energy healer because I'm like, am I just this weird energy healer over here? And having to confront those beliefs of certain people in my life and being seen in this new way. And something that I've learned is that whatever I think that other people are thinking about me is really just a reflection of the parts of me that have these fears. And so it's a really great tool when I start to tune in. Okay, I think they think I'm weird. Okay, well, is that true? Well, yes, I am weird. Can I own that, first of all? And second of all, what does that part of me need who has this fear? Like, yes, can I own it? And can I also comfort that part of me who's like, oh my gosh, they're seeing this side of me. And that was my exposure therapy post retreat, was posting a video of me doing Reiki on myself before we started, just to like ground myself. Like, there's gonna be some people on here that are like, what the is she
Yeah.
doing? And can I be
Yeah.
okay with that? Like, can I own that?
100%.
It's a
Wow.
journey.
I feel like Instagram, as much as I, or even social media in general, as much as I like go back and forth of like, do I like it? Do I hate it? I don't know. It is also such a good tool for exposure therapy. Even you saying that, that reminds me, even speaking of my background of being really deeply a part of the Christian church. And, that was my whole community for so many years of my life. And so that is still to this day, majority of the people on my Instagram would hold those beliefs. And so since I've kind of like expanded into a different belief system, um, I have been up against certain DMs over it's lessened now because I've really like put my boundaries up with it. But I remember the first time, this would have been like maybe 2019 or 2018, the first time I burned sage, but like filmed myself burning sage around my house and posted it. Someone was like, messaged Ryan and was like, what is that vampire shit Bridget's doing? Like, was like really concerned. And yeah, for me, it's just like, hey, it's all good. It really doesn't matter as long as I feel I'm in my purpose. And it truly does not need to make sense. Because I'm also, again, to go back to the whole linear analytical mind thing, it's like I'm helping people to get out of that state of mind. So cool, y'all are still in that, but we're over here talking to the trees. So.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I feel like you're such an expander in that way too. I feel like sometimes we can cling to certain parts of our personality. Like, I used to think I was always introverted, and I am to an extent, but I use that as my like, I don't need to, like, that version of me would be like, there's no way I'm having a podcast. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
And even like the shyness, right? And it's like, yes, that can still exist, but that's only a part of you. And I feel like you sharing your story and then you're here on this podcast right now and all that you've experienced, I think is really, really powerful. And with the sage piece, I'm like, if only they could see us now, first of all.
I
But
know.
but I also think the more that you are comfortable with with who you are and what you're doing, the less it matters, which has also been a really big lesson for me. It's like the more I believe in my work, the more I believe in who I am, the less I need that validation from other people or that like acceptance. Yes, belonging is still part of our human nature, but I feel like belonging in myself is it's less needed outside of me. I feel like
Yeah,
that's been key.
so massive. And I feel like this is a common thread that me and you also talk about. And you recently kind of had like an awakening moment with your own business and what you do is like doing it your own way. That's like the phrase you've been using over and over, especially with
Mhm.
with your Reiki. And me and you always have these conversations because it's like yeah, taking on different roles because it's what you've seen only continues the pattern of you morphing to fit a box that maybe isn't even yours. And so I feel like the journey of even like healing and moving through things, it's ultimately like just coming back to like, who are you? What do you love? What do you desire? There's no right, there's no wrong, there's no shame. Just like allowing that to flow and exist and change and move. And being able to fully be yourself in your work, like that, I know for both of us is so important and valuable. And like I always say it to you, it's like if I need to just feel like I'm like courageous and confident, it's like I've got my like rap playlist that like I put on some Kendrick Lamar, like I want to feel confident and like I can express myself and be like, no, I'm cool to be in your face because it's like so not what I actively practice, but
Hmm.
what I want to continue to embody. And then it's like, but then I also love to meditate and be like peaceful and listen to sound bowls. It's like you can be both and you can
Yes.
fully be yourself. You don't have to be this like meditative guru personality to teach mindfulness. You can be
Yes.
fully expressively human in yourself. And that's what I love. And that's what I've loved within this new chapter of kind of like bringing my work and business into the world again, kind of for a second go around. It's like I'm just fully being myself now. And I've got some really amazing tools and things that I've learned along the way that I honestly think would help people. So if you want to learn, let's go. Let's learn.
Yes. Oh my gosh, so much goodness there. I first shout out Kate Van Horn for the Do It Your Way. That was such key
Yes.
advice that I received from her, and it has been something I keep coming back to, which is also something I shared at the retreat at our soulful dinner. Is like I don't need to always be wearing linen, and like I'm not somebody at the
Yeah.
top of the mountain, and like it's I almost it's doing it my way where none of it's right or wrong or bad or good. It's like what is authentic to me. And with both of our work, I know we've chatted about this. It's like we're dealing with things that are maybe not as mainstream, like flower essences, herbalism, and Reiki, right? Where it's like, can we ground it in and do it our way? Where it's part of us, it's an extension of us, and also not in this way of like neediness or needing to impress or needing to push. It's like you said, these are things that have really helped us that we're here to share, we're here to offer. And it's as simple as that, which makes
Yes.
sense when you think about the highest vibration is authenticity. And so navigating that path and figuring out what your voice is within it and figuring out what it is to do it your way is part of that journey. Because for me, as somebody who's like a rule follower or has been, and like, when I first started out, I'm like, somebody just give me a rule book and an instruction manual and I'll do it.
Yeah.
And now I'm like throwing that out. Don't need that. It's within. And yeah, just kind of doing it our own way. Which the next thing we did in dinner was actually, I like to hide oracle cards underneath the plates. And we ended dinner with reading the messages to each other on what came through in the oracle cards. And I always find that is such a cool opportunity in dinner because it is wild how connected people are to the cards and how perfect they are, especially because we don't put names of where to sit. So it's really whichever spot you're drawn to. And then the messages that come through are always spot on. And it's just so fun to like sit at the table and yeah, chat about these messages and what resonates.
Yeah, I love that part of it because again, it's like even no matter how many times you've like connected and received signs and messages and been connected to something so much bigger than yourself, whether it's the universe, God, source. It's like every time you feel that connection point and reminder that you are part of something so much bigger than yourself, that there's this like thread of infinite possibilities of support. It's like every time you get a nudge and a reminder, it's like,
Hmm.
oh, it's a surprise. And I love that feeling. And I feel like that is always that moment of
Hmm.
like, hold up, the intentions we all set when we were in our opening ceremony, it's like every card kind of spoke to those. with
Yeah.
everyone. And yeah, again, it's like we just kind of came in the room and sat where we sat, and who you didn't even know what was underneath everyone. So I just love, again, just following those nudges, being aware of the universe conspiring for you in every moment. Like The Alchemist is one of my favorite books, and it's all about that. It's like everything, everyone, even the inanimate objects and things and jobs and people that we wouldn't even consider helpful on our path, like they are all nudging us to our greatest experience and expression of like soul self. And that's just the best.
Yes. Yes. I feel like that's always one of my intentions too, is just to remind people how guided and supported they are, because we really
Yes,
are.
exactly.
And it's so
Yeah.
easy to get lost in our minds and forget that. And I also feel like it's a great reminder of how intuitive we all are. Like we do
Yeah.
all have that. Which is also why I like the practice you do at your tea circles with when we have to guess the herbs and the plants within the tea and how everyone tunes in and magically picks up the right
Oh,
plants
every time.
every time. It always, I mean, yeah, it always just feels so good to just like have that moment of like, wow, we really are
Yeah.
all tuning in.
That's that just reminded me, do you know the TikTok where it's like, am I better than everyone? You ever seen that?
No.
It's from like 2021 or something. But
Mm.
it was like a viral sound, but it was like you basically, it applies to these moments. Like if people get it right and like guess the plant, which happens all the time, or they guess the
Yeah.
colors, but it's like this sound where it was like, am I better than everyone? Like, but just like how when we actually do tune into our intuition, we're like, oh, am I special? It's like, whoa, got powers.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Tapped in. Oh, which leads us to the last part of our retreat, which was our closing ceremony, where we had Megan do an absolutely amazing sound bath. And this also worked out really well because it ended up raining, so we couldn't do it outside. But it was the perfect atmosphere with all the candlelight, the light rain. We all were like lying on the floor on the couches, like sleepover vibes. It was the end of the night. And that just felt really fun. And before Megan started playing, Bridget led us through a cacao ceremony. And we also placed our Remember Who You Are blend into it, which felt like brought us back to memories we shared about making potions in the backyard, which was really
Yeah,
fun.
yeah.
Anything you want to speak on with the cacao before we go into the sound bath?
I actually just finished sipping on my
I love it.
cow. But yeah, I feel like just like any plant or kind of ceremonial experience with plant material, herbs, flowers, anything, including mama cacao, it's this moment to again connect to something that maybe we don't understand. Cacao has been used for centuries in ceremonial practices and acts to really like connect and open our heart to receive love, nurturance, to feel more connected to community, to source, to self. And it is one of those moments, again, it's like you don't have to understand it to receive the medicine. And that's, I think, what I love about like all plant medicine is it just is. You can simply just commune and connect with the plants, whether it's a cup of tea, a cup of cacao, a flower essence, a tincture, and the plant will effortlessly do the work. You just have to rest and receive, and get out of that analytical mind because sometimes
Mm-hmm.
things don't always make sense. And so I loved that moment, even just receiving the medicine of cacao, opening our hearts, and just how we were able to so effortlessly integrate the work that we all do as practitioners being there. I'm like, that's so cool to see. It's like I brought in the plants, you brought in the deeper energy healing, Megan brought in the sound healing, Jackie brought movement. Like it was like this perfect synastry of like medicine that we were all just able to receive. Like it truly was just the most nourishing, beautiful day.
Hmm.
And ending, like that closing ceremony was, I got to receive as well. That was like my receiving moment. And I received so much. So I don't know if you want to touch on your experience of giving, but yeah,
Yeah.
that was
Yeah, just
cool.
before that, I want to just reiterate what we said about we're supported and guided, and remembering that plants are here to support and guide us too. And so, like having
Mhm.
cacao, that's something that could be something to support you, or a flower essence. Like I said, we added the Remember Who You Are blend to it. Like that is there to support and guide us as well, whether we know it or not. And
Yeah.
before I dive into the like energy healing we did, do you want to just quickly tell the story of finding this cacao? Because it's pretty magical.
Yeah. Okay. So I I knew that there was a local store near me that sold ceremonial cacao. Quote unquote, I knew that it was there. And so in my head, I was like, oh, this is like a last minute task that I need to do. So I'm just like pushing it off further, closer to the retreat. And one day I was like, okay, we're like 5 days out or whatever it is. I should probably just like go pick that up just to make sure I can check it off my list. I go, they don't have it anymore. So then I'm like, oh, shoot, I don't know any other stores in the area because ceremonial cacao is not just like cacao that you can buy, like powdered cacao from Nature's Emporium or something. It is a very pure form of cacao that comes from certain parts of the world. Um, and is like harvested in particular ways because it is meant for this ceremonial use. And so I was like, okay, crap, I don't know where else to go. So I'm like trying to research it, trying to find like, does anywhere in this like radius sell it? Like I'm willing to drive to Toronto, like whatever. I just couldn't figure it out. And I was like, I'm not going to drive around town looking for it if I don't know people have it. So then I was looking online and I was finding companies even within Canada, but the shipping time, like it just wasn't quick enough to receive it. So again, I was like, oh my gosh, I got myself in a little pickle here. So I just continue to research. And I find this company that it presents like the title of it is cacao paste, but when you dive deeper, it is ceremonial grade cacao. And I ended up finding this brand. It's a Canadian brand. And I remember because I'm like a well.ca girly, like I get a lot of things on well.ca because I have so many Rexall points. Shout out Rexall. And so I was like, wait, I've seen that brand on well.ca. So I go to well.ca. I find the cacao and I was like, okay, they ship within like 3 days. So I'm just going to order it and hope that I'll order it and then I'll research it after because we just need it. We need some some form of ceremonial cacao. So then I ordered it. And after I did, I was like, okay, let's do a little bit of a deeper dive of like, where are they getting this? Who's the owner? So I look up the company and it was like their headquarters was randomly in Orangeville, which is literally like 5 minutes down the road from where we're randomly doing the retreat, which again is not like local to me and Kalina. Like we had to drive an hour to where we're hosting. And so I was like, wait, what? That is so random. Like their headquarters is literally down the road from where we're having this retreat in the first place. And then I look and I'm like, wait, the founder's name is also Bridget, which in my 33 years of life, I've only ever met like two other people named Bridget. It's not a very common name. And so, anyways, it was just one of those, two of those little pings of like, okay, you're on track. All is good. You're taken care of.
Yeah.
Everything's sorted out. Even if you don't get it in the mail, just walk down the street. Like it's going to be near where you guys are at. So that was funny.
Oh, so perfect. I loved how it all just worked out. And that cacao was delicious. It was, yeah,
It
it was
was.
perfect. So, yeah, and you didn't have to worry about delivery because we literally just asked one of the girls to go across the street and grab it. So,
Yeah.
it gets to be that easy. Okay, so we had the ceremonial cacao. We were guided through that. And then everyone lied down and I led them through a meditation just to kind of drop in, open up their chakras, and Megan played her beautiful sound bowls. And I kind of went throughout the little like sleepover pad party we had and got to do some energy healing on each of the girls. I always feel like a Reiki fairy when I do that, where I'm like hopping from people to people. And then I also did some distance Reiki where I just stood next to Megan as she was playing and just kind of offered some like non-touch Reiki as well, which was really, really cool as a practitioner. And something that is also really cool is as I'm doing this work, I get tons of messages from your field, from your body, from guides, past loved ones. And so once they all came back to the space, we also had a chance to just share kind of what came through, because also when you receive messages as well. So we kind of had, it felt like a sleepover late night chat where we got
Yeah.
to, yeah, just talk about everything coming through, which felt like a, like really just special way to close out.
Yeah, and I feel like it was cool as well to hear some of the experiences a few of the girls had never received Reiki before. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and I remember my first time receiving Reiki. I think something that like is unique to my experience with this particular form of like energy support and healing is I've only ever received Reiki from Reiki practitioners who were close friends of mine. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's always felt like just this like beautiful, safe space to be in. And I always, yeah, it's always so powerful. Like I was telling you this as we were driving home of like that whole hour/hour and a half. I don't even know how long we were doing that for. You obviously were moving throughout to the eight of us there. And I had said to you, I was like, were you like spending a little extra time on me? Like, were you prioritizing me? Like, so sweet of you. And you were like, actually, no, I barely like came to you. But I just feel like I felt your energy so potently, and it was such a powerful experience for me, which is also cool to receive in a setting like that with so many other women.
Mm-hmm.
And again, just hearing how impactful that was, how kind of revived everyone was at the end. We were all kind of like dancing and excited just about life afterwards.
You just reminded me of the candle flicker too. That was wild.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. During the closing ceremony, again, we're all in a meditative state. So we're not like watching Kalina move around and stuff. There was a candle on the table that began to like ferociously flicker to where like I quickly opened my eyes and like began to like raise up, raise from the dead, and to like I thought there was a fire happening. Like I thought something, and she looked at me and was like, "It's all good." And really, it was just such powerful energy moving throughout the room that the candle was just like dancing in it.
Energy is
No
real.
danger.
Yeah.
Energy is very real. Yeah.
Yeah, I just remember looking at you and the panic in your eyes. I'm like, you're good. Just lie back
Yeah.
down. It's fine. Nothing's burning. But it sounded like it was burning. So
Yeah.
that was wild. But yeah, I also feel like the energy work plus the sound bath, like that vibration, and Megan's so gifted. I feel like it was just such a beautiful combo to like fully receive and to move that energy. But when we came back to the space, everyone was also just like kind of zenned out. So we put on some music, we
Mm.
did some dancing before driving home, and yeah, we teased about having a sleepover on the floor because we just all wanted to keep chatting. But it just felt really special and just such a special group too. And I think I speak for both of us when I say that like it was we were both very honored to be able to do this and hold this space, and it was a lot of fun. So much fun we want to do it again.
Oh, so fun. Immediately, we're like, next, go. Let's
Yeah.
have it. Let's do it again. Yeah, I mean, what better way to spend your day than like being surrounded by just like beautiful, radiant women who are just open to connect, to dive
Mhm.
deep, to like just be seen in their truest self. and allowing, giving you permission to also be seen. Like that is truly, and it's what we do for work. I'm like, what? How did I get here? Like, wow, congrats to me. Like, this is my job. I love it.
Yeah, I remember saying that to you at one point. I'm like, can you believe that like this is our day at the office? What?
Right? So crazy.
So crazy. Oh, I feel like somehow time is just a flying and we are well over time. So
Love it. Knew it, knew
love
it.
it. Yeah, of course. But I would like to just first open up if there's anything else that you wanted to share. Doesn't have to be about the retreat, but anything else that you feel called to share in today's episode.
Great question. We dipped in so many pools that I'm
I
like,
know.
no. I feel like it's just, yeah, there were so many like amazing reminders woven throughout this conversation.
Hmm.
And yeah, I know for me, so much of my purpose and what I want more people to know and understand is that when you can learn to shift your energy, you can truly create more of the desired life that you like long to live. I
Hmm.
think we, again, are just so heavily in our stories, in our mind. We have like all these negative stories and thoughts that come up. And then we try to like outthink those, like think more positively, or we shame ourselves, or we just get so caught in the loop.
Hmm.
And we forget that we can actually just like attune to all of our senses, the sense of the body, the smells in the room, the lighting. We can go outside, breathe fresh air, go into the shower, feel the water, and it can like cleanse our energy and shift it into a more neutral space so that we can kind of clear that fog. And I think it's very aligned with both our work. Like, we're very passionate about helping people to understand and have like energetic awareness in their life. And that when you do, you can create these powerful rituals and practices that can shift it. And again, just open the door to more of what you want, more peace, more love, more belonging, less densities when it comes to our stories and thought loops. And we are allowed to receive support, even like how you were saying in the beginning with work, that you're like, oh, I don't have to do this all by myself. It's the
Hmm.
exact same, like with our mental and emotional health, especially nowadays when like we are just so bombarded with thoughts and images and so much coming at us at every moment of every day, that we are allowed to like grab some tools and support systems like the plants, like energy healing, like meditation and mindfulness practices to to support us in like this thing that can be really, really challenging as humans to kind of deal with. And I feel like we're both testaments to that. We're both, overthinking can be in our head, in our stories. I know for me, anxiety, depression, like all of those things have woven their way through my story and life for a long time. And it's not even that, like, I'm not anxious anymore. Oh my gosh, I'm healed. It's not even that. It's my relationship to my anxiety has shifted so profoundly that it's just like a lighter experience. Like I'm able to actually meet it and be like, it's okay that you're here. I'm feeling anxious and I need support. That's it. It's not about becoming this like highest perfect version of you that doesn't experience the densities. It's just about like softening your experience to it all. And so I feel like that's just the reminder
Hmm.
of all of this, is that there is a support system surrounding you at all times.
Always and all the ways. Yes, yes, yes.
Always.
Oh, that was so beautifully said and so many powerful reminders there. I'm so happy I asked if you had anything else because, like, mic drop. Yeah, even just this, like, being healed, I feel like is such a toxic thing in this area that I mean I got sucked into of like, oh, I need to be 100% healed. I'm not there yet. And it's just like it's just a
Yeah.
softening, it's an acceptance, it's a, supporting
Mhm.
yourself. And reminder that you're not alone, I feel like is a really big reminder in this episode. And I feel like with kind of my intention along with that for this episode was also this reminder that it is possible to not be afraid to DM someone to meet for coffee, to not be afraid to message someone to see if, even though you've never really met, if they want to host a retreat with you and your friend on their farm.
Yeah.
Like, to just let yourself break those rules and being open to the different experiences available to you and following the breadcrumbs. Yeah, like that. It gets to be possible for you too, you know? And Bridget
Yeah.
and I are very much still in it. We're not here preaching on a mountain saying, "Hey, we've made it. We've figured it all out." Like we're no.
Definitely not.
No, but just for where we are right now in this journey, I feel like that's been really loud of like it's not that serious. Reach out, there's support available to you and give yourself permission to just take that next step, to follow that next breadcrumb because you'll be surprised where it all leads you.
Yes.
Okay, we like to end every episode with a card pull. And since Bridget
Oh,
is here, I've invited her to pull a card. And just as she is shuffling to share a message for the collective listening, I want to share that you can book flower essence sessions with Bridget, where you can actually make a custom blend that is basically like your support BFF. That's what I turned to
yeah.
my Remember Who You Are blend that we co-created. Mine is actually so dirty because I literally take it everywhere with me, but it's just such a powerful tool to help you, yeah, just like quiet the noise. So you can book a one-on-one session with her. I will put a link in the show notes. You can also book a call with her if you just want to ask some questions. She also hosts new moon circles, tea ceremonies. So I will put any links to any upcoming ceremonies that you can join. And the exciting news is this blend that we created, the Remember Who You Are blend, is going to be available now to purchase. This blend
Yeah.
was co created with the intention to help you quiet the noise and drop back in and remember who the F you are. So, which is the blend we took right before this
Yeah.
podcast for us to ground in and be our authentic selves. So, I will also put that in the show notes. Anything I forgot? Anything else that you have upcoming that you wanted to share?
That's it. I also do have some of my signature blends, like things I've already created, available on Etsy. I
Mhm.
have 6 of them. One is called Light Shield. It's for like the highly sensitive person to create kind of that shield of protection if you're like running an errand, going to a family gathering, don't want to absorb all the energy. Then I also have
Sorry, I'm
2
laughing
blends.
because we took this at the grocery store and it was,
Oh,
if you
yeah.
saw the video, it was so hectic, but it helped so much. Light Shield, highly recommend.
Good
Sorry,
times.
continue.
I also have Sacred Descent and Sacred Ascent, which are blends to really support our cycle. I have one that is for grief called Eternal Love. I have one called Spaceholder if you are a practitioner and you kind of want a little bit of support, like stepping into that role. It is not a role, to be taken lightly, and you want to protect your energy. You want to be able to get out of your head, get out of your desire to like prove something and just like be present. And so I think that's all of, oh, and then there's one called Safe Cocoon, which is like really to support nourishing sleep, and is especially helpful for someone who maybe deals with insomnia, nightmares, um, more like energetic sensitivities around nighttime or when it's dark out. And so, yeah, you can find those on my Etsy.
I just wanted to say I
Free.
highly
Yeah.
recommend the Safe Cocoon. I hadn't been sleeping for a week, and like, I mean, I literally was sleeping 3, maybe 4 hours a night and not napping during the day. And I was just counting down the days until I got my Safe Cocoon, and I slept. Like, I slept fully. It was magical. So if you do struggle with sleep, safe cocoon is literally a lifesaver.
Yeah, and I always say like flower essences, I really believe are like medicine for sensitive people because they really just speak to our subtleties, our energy, and helps to shift, like if you're someone who has tried all the things and like nothing works for me, it could be that your energy is so heightened and overwhelmed, and that you just need a little bit of support in like shifting it into a different state. And so
Hmm.
that's when I highly recommend like inviting the flowers. Flower essences are also completely safe. They don't interact with other medications. Um, they're You can use them with your pets, you can use them on your plants, you can use them with your children. And so like they're very accessible to use in like safe ways if you maybe are hesitant with other forms of plant medicine. So I wanted to mention that. And then also so excited to finally get Remember Who You Are in your hands, because we
Hmm.
also, this was a part of the gift for those who attended our retreat. But yeah, now you can also receive it. And it really is flowers that help to support you in connecting with, again, that essence of who you were always born to be, that soul self, getting beyond the noise of the mind, beyond the chaos of like ego identities and roles that we're playing, and like getting back to shining the light that you were always meant to shine. And Kalina, did the room just
It
get
did.
brighter when I
Yep.
said that? And cool.
Love it.
And yeah, me and Kalina have both been sitting and connecting with this blend for a little while now, and have both had like really special experiences with it, even within the dream world and just different elements. So I'm excited to get it in your hands.
Yeah. And also, isn't there something in it too with being seen and like shining?
Yep.
Which I feel like has been a big theme for us both and at the retreat of like, yeah, allowing us to stand tall and be seen.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
good.
There's two flowers in there that really support. Yes, like having the courage to just like let your light shine, stand
Hmm.
tall, you know, straighten that spine. You're safe to be seen. And so it's very supportive of that.
Oh, I love it. And I'm so grateful that we got to create that. Such an amazing
Yes, me
experience.
too.
Which also, last thing I'll say is that if you're a practitioner of any sorts and you wanted to co-create a blend, Bridget also
Mhm.
offers practitioner sessions where you can create a blend to offer in any of your sessions if it's supportive or to clients. So that is also a really cool
Yeah.
opportunity.
Retreats, containers. I had a practitioner recently. She's a business coach, and she has like a 6-month container where she really supports like the healers of the world to create purposeful business. And we've invited in a custom blend. So everyone in her that particular container is also supported by the energetics of the flower. So I think it's a really like potent thing to add to the work you're already doing. So yeah, that's
Hmm.
all the offerings are on the table. I think we've covered them all.
I love it. And I just love I know I've said this to you before, but like the ripple effect of your work. It's like, I think it's so, so cool and so special. So thanks for sharing your gifts with the world.
Of
And
course.
for this card pull, I'm so curious of what came through.
So two cards actually.
Mm.
And coincidentally, the first one is number 36. This is the goddess deck, Metis. It is wisdom. But then the
Mm.
other one, number 48, is Sophia, and this is divine wisdom. So double wisdom whammy
Damn.
is what we're receiving right now. Um,
I love it.
Let me see. All
The
right.
double wisdom whammy.
All right. Experience woven together with knowledge creates a beautiful thing called wisdom. Its parts are entwined like a finely made rope that is so strong it can't be cut. Wisdom, once earned, becomes an essential part of you. Right now, the Greek goddess of wisdom, Metis, says, you know exactly what to do in your current circumstances. The real question is, do you have the courage and commitment to make a wise choice? Your answer is not to hide. You are being invited to look within rather without. Take the wisdom you already have and apply it to your question. Perhaps, however, you must instead draw forth the humility to find someone wiser to weigh in too. In this powerful time, others may start to seek you out for your wisdom. This is also an auspicious period when new relationships are founded on deep truths shared with others. You are entering a potent period of your life to share all that you are and all that you've learned. Extraordinary things are possible when this goddess reminds you of your wisdom and the need to express it.
How perfect.
So perfect.
Yeah, of like tuning back in and allowing it to be seen and connecting with that support.
Yes, exactly. All right, to tie it all together, human wisdom comes from personal experience, but divine wisdom is unknown to our life experience. When we ask for help, we are asking for guidance from a source much greater than us, a great unknowable mystery. And when we receive it, it is often life altering and affects us in ways beyond our comprehension. The Gnostic goddess Sophia, who brought the material world into being, arrives to show you how fate and destiny operate in relationship to synchronicities. When you least expect it, opportunities and meetings will spring up out of nowhere. Your life begins to work out, and you sense your alignment with higher purpose and power. Trust that you are divinely protected and directed. Practice the act of faith before results. It is essential in co-creating your world.
Wow.
You can't make this up, guys.
Again, just how perfect and reminding us that we are guided, we are safe to follow the breadcrumbs, the opportunities that are all surrounding us, to send that DM,
To host that circle.
to start a podcast, to post that thing, whatever it
Mhm.
is, it's all leading you. It's all available to you. How perfect.
So perfect.
Yay. Thank you so much for pulling those cards and sharing those messages. Thank you also for being open to being on the pod and for sharing your story and being vulnerable and allowing it to be seen, yourself to be seen, but your story to be seen and heard as well. And just for being such an expander. I so appreciate you. I so appreciate your friendship and also this like partnership we've built in hosting all the things and being on this journey together. So yeah, just so grateful for you and grateful that you took like 2 hours to be on this podcast.
I love it. Again, I'm like, hey, any conversation with you, you should also like see our text threads. It's basically just like 5-minute voice memos, just back and forth and back and forth. Yeah, it's just so good when you can find a friendship that really, like you said, expands you, but sees you, is safe. And again, like we're stepping into so many fun and cool things in life. And yeah, I'm grateful that we were able to get so much of it out in this conversation.
Me too. And by the time this comes out, we might also have the date for our next 1 day retreat at the farm.
Yeah.
So I will put that in the show notes as well. If you feel the call, we'd love to have you. All right, that is the end of today's episode. Reach out to either of us if you have any questions or you want to chat about anything more. But yeah, that's the end. Bye.
Bye.